is that grace is where the power is. Grace is where the power is. C.S. Lewis said a quote, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less." Not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. See, I thought about humility. Where can we learn where humility is found? Where can we learn? The ideal place is the example of Jesus Christ. He came to this earth to be humble. And it says in Philippians 2, 5-8, "You must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on the cross." See, here is the root of true humility. Allowing ourselves to be nothing and allowing God to be everything. Allowing every decision we make not to be something that we do and say and act for our own self, but thinking, what would God want me to do? How would God want me to act? What would God want me to say? But there's a great thing here. There's something that we can be really excited about. Really, really excited about. And it's something that just excited me this week so much. When it comes to humility, God gives us more grace. God gives us more grace to overpower our own sinful nature. He gives us more grace. And this is where the power is when it comes to grace. In James 4, 6-10, it says, "But he gives us even more grace to stand against such evil desires. As the scriptures say, God opposes the proud but favours the humble. So humble yourselves before God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come close to God, and God will come close to you." I think it's really amazing, just before I read on, it's really amazing that James says, you draw close to God, and then God will draw close to you. See, God's position won't change. That's the thing that's really awesome here about God, is his position won't change. He's always close to us, but only when we draw close to him will he be close to us. If we don't draw close to him, he'll stay close to us, we just won't realize it. And it reads on, "Wash your hands, you sinners, purify your hearts, for your loyalty is divided between God and the world." It's pretty full on what James is saying. I mean, just as I said before I started, when someone says to you, "You're prideful," it's offensive. And it reads on, "Let there be tears for what you've done. Let there be sorrow and deep grief. Let there be sadness instead of laughter and gloom instead of joy. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." And this is what it comes down to. God's grace is sufficient. God's grace is sufficient. There is not one sinful pride, one element of it, that is more powerful than God's grace. But one thing I just want to encourage you, I can't stress enough this morning, is don't think of other people. That's our natural desire, is to think of other people and think of ourselves as good. Think of ourselves as we've got no issues. But I simply want us to start thinking about ourselves. Start thinking where we stand when it comes to letting God take our all, letting God take control. Where do we stand? When we receive grace, when we receive the grace of God, it just means the battle's starting with Satan. It just means the battle's starting. It is so important that we daily, hourly, minutely humble ourselves before God and say, "God, take control. God, take control." And the next thing is that's so important is to obey. Is to obey. That's where humility is found. So here's the question this morning. Would you be willing to follow the example of Jesus Christ? Would you be willing to do it? Would you be willing to put yourself in the position to say, I am nothing, but God is everything? Are you willing to not only put your desires aside, but to let go of your own desires, to let go of your own pride, and let go of the things that are holding you back from drawing close to God? My prayer this morning is that you will. That we will.